Okay, let's talk about toxicity. So I think this term gets used quite a bit. Um, it can mean different things to different people. So I really want to get more specific to what toxicity is in the human body and why it's there. So in our quote unquote Western society civilization, we have now been polluting ourselves. There's a whole host of different reasons why this is, but let's just start with what we can call frankenfoods. So if we rewind the clock to the 1950s and 60s, that's really when a lot of better health through chemistry was one of the slogans that you would hear. And this is when a lot of chemists started moving into food production. This is when you started to have the TV dinners, right? I remember having those as a kid. You pop them, take them out of the freezer, pop them in the oven. However many minutes later, you're sitting in front of the TV with this hot meal and you're eating it. But these are frankenfoods. These are processed foods that have chemicals in them that our bodies had never been exposed to before. If we go back to the time of our grandparents and our great grandparents, they only had access to whole foods. They only had access to meats and fruits and vegetables, and anything that was made, they had to make them, from scratch. They had to make them from the foods and the materials that were readily available. There weren't chemicals that were involved. Now, when you look at a label, it's difficult to even pronounce some of these incredibly long hyphenated words that are in some of these products. And so that's what I'm calling frankenfoods. So we are exposing ourselves to these frankenfoods sometimes every single day. Our body gets confused. It doesn't know how to deal with these. And one of the things that'll happen is the body is intelligent. It'll try to process and eliminate some of these chemicals, but if it can't, it'll try to wall them off, or it'll try to store them and get them away from some of the more vital tissues and organs and metabolic processes. One of the ways it does that is it stores it in fat. And so we actually have a lot of toxins and chemicals that are now in our fat storage, in our adipose cells. So chemicals, plastics are chemicals. But again, if you go back to the day of our grandparents and great-grandparents, plastics didn't exist. Plastics came about in the 60s. There was Tupperware. They realized they could take the crude oil and take certain elements of that crude oil and then refine it and make it into plastics. But now some people have 2 plastic bags worth of plastics in their body. I mean, that's incredible. We have babies that are being born with plastics in them because there's now plastics in the placenta. So again, we have polluted ourselves because of what we've done with our environment. Next, pesticides. So DDT is something that's very well known, but there are pesticides that have been in the United States early on in the 60s and 70s that are completely banned now because they are so toxic, because they are so poisonous, where people, if they were splashed with it, if it wasn't diluted and they got a drop on their skin, they were dead within a week. So for us, imagine with our lifestyle, what we've been doing. We've been having these small, mini, micro, daily, sometimes, exposures from our fruits, from our vegetables. And when this touches our skin or we ingest it, our body has to deal with it as best as possible. Another type of toxicity, can be radon, can be the gas that's in our homes, can be the fumes from driving, from living near a freeway. Sometimes you have leaks in your car and you don't necessarily know it because you can't really smell it. Or initially you smelled it, but now you've kind of gotten used to it. Other toxicities that we shouldn't be around, mold. This is something that's becoming more and more of a problem. It's in more office buildings, it's in more residential housing, and we recognize that it's a problem, but we don't really recognize how dangerous it can be for our physiology and for our biochemistry. So these are types of toxicities that show up and can be seen with the MVX plus test. And this is something that's so important about utilizing this test as a tool, because you may not know that you have had a previous exposure, could be months, could be years, could be decades ago, and or having a current exposure that is affecting your physiology and it's affecting your biochemistry. Now, and if this goes on for long enough, what's going to happen to you? More than likely, there's going to be some kind of chronic illness if you cannot compensate any further, if this is disrupting your biochemistry and your physiology. So please like and subscribe. Please share this with someone who may have had some kind of exposure, who may currently have an exposure. And this test is something that you should utilize as a tool to help you, to give you a health score right now. And then as you resolve certain issues over the next 4, 6, 8 weeks, you can repeat that test to see if you are going in the right direction. I'm going to leave you with one story. One of the patients I've been working with, in their profession, they are around certain metals, and the MVX plus test has shown they have exposure to a toxicity. So what we're doing is now focusing on how much, what is the toxicity, and the MVX test is pointing us in the right direction. Okay? So again, please share this with someone, like and subscribe. Look out for the next video. Thanks, bye.